What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show, your one-stop shop for all things Commanders. All off-season, George, we've been diving into the fantasy football community. It's been awesome. We've had on incredible guests, getting us a little closer to the monies when it comes to fantasy football. We've been doing this best ball. We're going to load it up again today with the BestBall Mania and see if we can win the big money.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking offline about how much fun it is and kind of learning about the entire league, learning about more of the players, having a blast to do that. And I'm actually excited to take on a league of our own right now because for those of you that don't watch, the BestBall Mania is a $25 entry fee and Underdog. And basically, you can win up to $1 million if you can get it all the way and win the tournament. So hopefully, Doug and I will be like buying some vacations home upcoming pretty soon. So it'll be kind of fun, and we'll give it a shot.
We've had a lot of different people come on with different strategies on how to do this thing. So it'll be nice today, George, to kind of take some of all this information we've been gathering for the last month or so, month and a half, and try it ourselves and see what we can do. We've had a lot of different theories on what works best.
Absolutely. And I felt the exact same way. I feel like I'm kind of happy to be venturing on my own because we've kind of been deferring to our guests and letting them select the players. So maybe we can alternate rounds or something, or we'll kind of talk it out. But
yeah,
I just think that it's going to be a lot of fun. My one request or one suggestion is I really do believe in the stacks. I think stacking catches lightning in a bottle. And for those of you that don't watch the show regularly, that means picking multiple players on the same team and kind of hoping that they hit it big. And I think having stacks kind of limits the it limits the different factors that go into the fantasy football. And if you catch a team that's actually on fire, you can catch that. You can ride the wave all the way to a championship, which is fantastic.
And the beauty about best ball is, it's for those that aren't regular best ball players, maybe don't even really know what it is. This is like the set it and forget it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the beauty of best ball is you can do a whole lot of these. You're trying to. They say it's good for practice.
Hey, Doug, real quick, we have number 2 overall pick. So what do you want to do?
Nice.
CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek, Jamar, Justin Jefferson?
I'm assuming McCaffrey went 1, right?
Yeah, he did. I could do Tyreek or I could do CeeDee Lamb.
Let's do Tyreek.
I like Tyreek better. I like the upside there. He's a dog. I'm into it. And maybe we can get Tua later on down the road.
Down the road, right? And I'm not sure that we've gotten any Tyreek.
This is the highest I think we've ever gone in the draft. We always go 7, 8, 10 or whatever. So it's nice to have it. We have 20 picks now until we're back up again.
But as I was saying, though, you draft these and it eliminates when you have that 30-point guy on the bench, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get him in or he wasn't supposed to go that big. So that's what you're doing. Like these things, whatever the best scores are at the positions, that's what they'll count. And so, it feels like as we've been doing these, George, that the stacks maybe are more important in best ball.
Absolutely.
And in redraft.
I think so.
And it's interesting. We're going to start doing more redraft shows with redraft specialists, if you will, in August as we get to what I like to call redraft season, right? I mean, you're doing best ball all the way up, all off season long because it doesn't really matter because if somebody gets hurt, you've got everybody else that can play. Redraft is a little different, and we'll have to take a look at the rankings. We've been told a lot that doing the best ball preps you for the redrafts. And on some level, I get it, but the rankings, I think, are going to be a big difference between redraft and best ball, I think. I looked at the redraft on ESPN, and the rankings are wildly different.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I guess last week we had Eric Moody from ESPN on here doing our draft, and it was funny because he is a redraft expert. He's actually a fantastic guest. Check out that episode.
Yes.
He was awesome. I really enjoyed having him on. But I was listening to his theories, and the theories that I was hearing comes from the school of redraft, right? It's kind of like chasing after the receptions. He was like, you know what, Deontay Johnson, you got to get Hollywood Brown. You have to chase after people of that, that ilk, right? Like those players are awesome. You want them to get the touches, but I think that in a best ball league, I think stacks is the name of the game. And I think one of my favorite guests during this whole offseason has been Peter Overset. He does BestBall Mania every single morning, and these guys dude, we're on like maybe 20 right now in regard to best balls. These guys are going thousands, hundreds
Yes.
of them. So they're just kind of tracking data, which I think is very, very interesting. So for me, I think, catching lightning in the bottle, having those stacks, I think it limits the different types of factors that can mess up your league and potentially win the league. So, getting Tyreek here, I think maybe coming back around in 10 picks, maybe getting another wide receiver potentially, maybe a really high end running back, maybe, but I think wide receivers are the way to go. And maybe selecting a wide receiver with a quarterback in mind might be the best strategy to go.
Yeah, so we'll look to get Tua at some point, right?
Yeah, I'll put him in our little queue just in case. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the nice thing about the stack with Tyreek is that you can get. I mean, look at the ADP for
To
Tua
a
here.
124 is ridiculous. Yeah, way up
Right.
there.
Also, at least one of the running backs from
Yeah.
Miami, you're going to get at a pretty good ADP, right?
A-Chain right here,
A-Chain's
23.
high, but if you look at
Mostert,
I
way
mean,
late.
way late, right?
I actually have so for those of you that follow the show, Doug and I are also in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I got Raheem Mostert really late. And I think it's from everything I heard, even Mike McDaniels in his latest presser, it's almost 1A and 1B in regard to the running back. I think people are kind of looking at Devon Achane and seeing that ADP and kind of jumping on it because they're getting excited. But I had Achane in my league last year, and he's a great player when he's available, but he's often injured, And I think whenever he was gone, Mostert stepped up and had 21 touchdowns last year. So let's say there's natural regression and Mostert dips down back to 10. Getting 10 touchdowns from a running back in the 93 ADP selection is fantastic. So I'll take it all day long.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. I see this interesting Waddle's there too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I see you put Barkley on there. I think maybe Saquon's the biggest name that's not being talked about right now. I think he's being undervalued in a weird kind of way. I think he's set up for a huge season in Philadelphia.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. 100%. I think Saquon, for the record, we have 4 picks till we come up. But I don't understand the hate for Saquon. I think he's going to be there's not going to be as much pressure on him to carry the offense in Philadelphia as there was in New York. In New York, he was the offense. He doesn't have to be in Philadelphia. He has a better offensive line. He has a read option threat with Jalen Hurts. I think they're going to move the ball down the field with these big chunk plays with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think Saquon, he might tickle, maybe tickle 1,000 yards rushing. It might not be a huge rushing output, but I think a lot of touchdowns are coming his way. Maybe some receptions too.
I think you're right. I wish he'd have made it because I would have said there's probably a world where we could have put together a Dolphins and an Eagles stack.
That'd be fantastic.
Which would have been nice. He's gone now, but
I like Derrick Henry too. Kind of people are sleeping on him a little bit, but we're going to be up in 30 seconds. Ayuk, A-Chain, Evans, Smith, Metcalf. We're up right now.
If we're at all thinking about putting together an Eagles type deal, then maybe it's Devontae Smith here.
Yeah, why not, right?
I like Mike Evans that you can come back and get Mayfield late.
We also have that turn around the corner. Keep that in mind, right? So we can get Smith now, maybe get another one later on.
You want to do Smith here?
Yeah, let's do it. And then we can kind of put Jalen Hurts in the back of our mind, because Jalen Hurts is a fantasy stud. He went number 2 in a lot of super flex leagues. So I'll put him on there. We're back up again. So it's Evans, Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry. Running backs are getting a little bit thin. I don't know if you're interested in that at all. Actually, they're not that thin.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Tight end, potentially?
I like going Mike Evans here.
Okay. Going big. I like it. We can even potentially have Baker as one of our guys down the road, too. I'll put him in our queue as well.
Yeah, we've kind of seen some of those as we've done this in the past, where it's like you can put together one of these Tampa stacks late.
Pretty late. I think so. I agree with you on that. So walking away with Tyreek, Smith, and Evans is a pretty solid wide receiver core right there. I like that a lot.
I do too. And I think what do the tight ends look like? We're going to be up in 18 picks.
Laporta, Kelsey.
These guys probably gone.
Yeah, I mean, they're no one's touched them yet. They're all pretty solid. McBride, Andrews, Kincaid, Pitts. I mean, I like all these guys.
I mean, if when we come back up again, if Derrick Henry is there,
absolutely, I love that guy.
Then we
it's going. Actually, just got taken.
There's Andrew still available. We could potentially put together a Ravens stack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Henry's gone now. He just got taken up.
Okay.
The Houston guys are still floating around, Diggs and Dell. No quarterbacks taken so far. Josh Allen's, his ADP is coming up. Hurts is floating around. If Hurts is around in 14 picks, Doug, I'm kind of intrigued about getting him because he's not necessarily a huge passing guy, but he had 15 rushing touchdowns last year, which is out of control. So having him, with the passing yards, I think it's fantastic. A nice little combo there.
I'm into it.
13 picks. DK Metcalf, Moore, ETN, Diggs coming off the board.
One of the big things that I think that we learned in this doing these is what do you guys say? 4 out of the first 6 rounds should be wide receivers in these best balls?
Yeah, Peter Overset, he said 4 when you walk after 7 rounds, you should walk away with at least 4 wide receivers. That should be your baseline, because after that, it kind of falls off a cliff, is what he said. And I agree with him. I think everything he said was correct, and he was a great guest. You guys definitely check that show out.
I know I missed that one, and I was disappointed about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're up at about 11 picks. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've enjoyed about this, George, I think one of the nice things about fantasy is, in our regular lives, you and I spend so much time about the Commanders because that's the team that we love and root for and really are into. But this really allows you to get a broad view of the league.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like after this offseason, I remember when I was playing Madden a lot, some years ago with my brother, we'd know where every guy played and where they went to school because we'd be drafting them and it'd show. And I must admit, I haven't played Madden in quite a while. So I just don't know. I don't feel like I know the league like I did then.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like after doing all the best ball and the fantasy this offseason, they have a much better appreciation for the league and who's where and who's on the rise than I have in the last couple of off seasons, and it feels good. I feel smarter.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think also getting these guys that are on. I'm always curious, right? I never want to be the expert on anything. I always want to listen to other people and learn from them and make my own opinions. It's kind of how I operate. And I think the fact that we have so many national guys that aren't DC centric, that are basically watching the league from a different lens, it's interesting hearing them talk about players that we don't necessarily think about, right? So that's what I've learned a lot over the past couple months, because they're telling me things that, I might have a perception on somebody, but they're hearing something completely different. And, it kind of I don't know if you're catching yourself doing this, Doug. It kind of raises your eyebrow, and while you're kind of scrolling through your Twitter feed, that guy said that. I agree. And you're starting to see other trends pop up a little bit, which is pretty cool.
For those that are new to the channel, we've been very blessed and fortunate to have some of the best and the brightest in the industry on with us. I agree with you totally, George. It's been the premise, I think, of the whole podcast is let's find people that know more than us, pepper them with questions so that we can learn some stuff. Mm-hmm. And hopefully those that follow us and watch the channel are learning stuff too. Mm-hmm. For me, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
And
running backs are, just for the record, we're up in 5 picks, about 4 picks now. Running backs are getting a little bit thin, but at the same time, maybe we don't have to chase a running back. We don't have to pick them because they're not great. I don't know if you want to do there's a Kelsey Mahomes, and we have 4 picks. We can force a Chiefs stack potentially. I don't know if you want to do that.
There's no reason that we can't pivot and do it.
Yeah, why not? That'd be kind of interesting, kind of out of nowhere. Why not?
Yeah,
potentially get one of the Mark wide receivers later on.
You could still do a Lamar stack too.
Yeah, Lamar, I think he's still around. In case
Travis goes before we pick.
Yeah, so we have Travis Cooper. He just got taken. Kelsey off the board. Mahomes. Lamar and Andrews are out there. I don't know if you want to go that route with it.
We certainly could. We can wait too and do a Terry and try to get Jaden 20 rounds from now. We can wait and try to pick up Pitts. That Kirk Cousins is going to be available 10 rounds from now.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we have?
We're on the board now. So Cooper, Mahomes, Jackson, Andrews, McLaurin, Jacobs, Highwood, Brown are the top on the board.
What do you think here?
Dude, Lamar Jackson's a league winner, man. I had him last year and he cooked, man. If maybe get Lamar, maybe get Mark Andrews on the turn, why not?
Let's do it.
Give it a shot. It'd be kind of fun because I don't think we had that much investment in Lamar in other places.
I don't think we've had it at all, yeah.
So we get Mark Andrews on the turn, and then we could potentially get Zay Flowers. I don't know if he's still available. I think he might be gone, but him and Andrews. I mean, that's a solid combo right there.
I like it. I mean, as far as Lamar goes, you know how that's going to go.
We're back on here. Going to get Mark Andrews and solidify that.
Yeah,
I like that,
and I do too because we've seen this after Andrews, the tight ends are going to go quickly.
Yeah,
and you and I have done a bunch of these where we wait till the end to get tight ends, and then we get like the
Chica Conquo
tight ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but I like that Lamar, and so we have one stack, Lamar and Mark Andrews, but that's not going to prevent us from getting Baker Mayfield and Tua. We can still do that too, which is fantastic. That's the beauty of best ball, Doug, is you can have multiple options, and depending on the week, one of them is going to blow up, which is great.
Absolutely.
So maybe we'll start Terry. Terry's kind of I feel like Terry and Brian Robinson, or especially Brian Robinson. There goes Terry. They are going later in the draft. Like Brian Robinson, you can get him late, but I think he's becoming more of like a sexy, like people like, I don't know if you're following this as well, Doug, but like you'll see it in the fantasy community, like you might as well go get Brian Robinson in round 14. People are kind of hyping him up. He's going late, but he's also the last running back to go, which I think as a Commanders fan that follows it closely, I think Robinson's going to have a good year. So I think it is a good steal late.
I do too, and it's odd because I don't know if this makes you nervous or not as a Commanders fan, but like the fantasy world is super high on Jaden, and I know that's because of the running ability that he brings.
Yeah,
but if you're high on Jaden, and to your point, I think people are kind of high on what Robinson might be able to do after they saw his hands last year.
Yeah,
that means the offense might be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Both things can't be true. Like Jaden's not going to be a fantasy star, and the Commanders' offense is going to suck. But also, year one in the offense makes me nervous with a rookie quarterback that this actually can be what we're into. So I'm not sure how to feel about all the early, at least fantasy love for the Commanders.
People forget, 12 years ago now, Robin Griffin III, he freaking tore up fantasy football. Like people kind of forget. Luckily, disappointingly, I didn't have him. But when he was number 2 overall pick and he got taken in the drafts, he was averaging. I think he ended the season as a top 2 or 3 fantasy player for across all positions because he was a running quarterback. It's been crazy. So, I think that's what they're potentially projecting with Jay Daniels.
I tried to not get too excited about it, but I gotta tell you that I'm starting now that we're in camp and everything, I'm starting to get a little more excited. I saw you scroll past my guy, Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
We're talking big things about him and the camp he's having.
You and I have been on him for a while. Like I know you love him because he's a Georgia guy, but you and I, dude, I love the NFL draft. So do you. I've been doing a lot of research, and Lad McConkey, people are like he's pro ready, like he's like the Puka Nacua of this draft class. I feel like he's not being talked about enough. I think he's kind of discredited. People kind of think of him as more of like he's a Julian Edelman, that Wes Welker type, but I think he can do more than that. I think he's going to walk on to the Chargers, which is a pretty solid team, especially, with Justin Herbert there and Harbaugh as the head coach. He can walk in and I can see him being potentially a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't think it's that crazy to think about that.
He walks in as one of the better route runners in the league. I know people say, why he's just, but I'm telling you, I watch a lot of Georgia football. You know that every game it stays getting open.
2 picks away. We don't have any running back. I don't know if you want to chase after one or not. CJ Stroud's available. Let's take a look. Montgomery, Ingram, Smith and Jigba. We're up in a couple minutes. Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones.
Are there any of those names that excite you? Because I can't say that they.
No, not for me. CJ Stroud potentially, but I like David Montgomery's there. I don't know if he's a league winner though.
No, I mean we're on the clock. I'd be fine with McConkey, and I don't think we have much stock in him either.
All right, want to do that? What I think we should do is, I don't know if this is too aggressive. We'll draft McConkey. I'll take my time so I can talk it out with you. Maybe one of these other stacks like Tua or Mayfield. I don't know if it's too, I mean, it might be a little bit too early to jump on him, but at the same time, I feel like people like what I do like about the turn is you can kind of set the tone for the next round. Like you don't have to worry about like you get ahead of it, but you also get ahead of the curve. I don't know if you want to do that now or wait a little bit.
I think we can. I think we can wait on the next quarterback.
All right. Do you want to get Mostert potentially? Or
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, we have him there. I don't know if there's any other guys that excite you.
No, let's do that.
Get Mostert. Okay. A little. I like this, and then we'll get to it later on.
Yeah.
And that'll be our stack. I like it.
I do too, and I kind of like Mostert over
like him too.
when we're talking. If we're strictly talking about ADPs, like I'd rather sit and wait on Mostert a couple of rounds later, personally, like we did, than going A chain.
I agree with you. I think people are concerned about his age and his outlier year about having 21 touchdowns. But I feel like the NFL is all about scheme and fit. And when you have an offensive wizard like Mike McDaniels or Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, if they like you and they see the vision in you and what they're trying to call, I think it works out pretty well. And most are still playing for the same offensive coordinator that gave him 21 touchdown opportunities last year, right? And I think he also had one of the highest of red zone percentages touches in the entire league. So, why would that go away? All because it's 1 year later. I think if anything, they'll try to recreate it, right? So that's what I'm thinking.
If it ain't broke, you don't fix it, right?
Exactly right.
I completely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see the age. Like I understand the age will come into effect one day for him. I don't see why it would be this year.
I'm clicking on a bunch of people that I find interesting. You can disagree or not. Just let me know.
We put Brock Bowers on the list.
Okay. Jaden Daniels is floating around. Brian Robinson. See, Brian Robinson is always.
I know. I would put him on the list. I think you put Raheed Shaheed on the list.
Yeah, I'm glad you know about that. He's definitely like if you're in the fantasy community, you know about Rashid Shaheed. He's definitely he's not like the mainstream, but he's like, and he's interesting because with the whole I don't know how much you factored into this, Doug, with like your thought process, but the whole new kickoff returns, he's a great option there because he's explosive. He could potentially be back as a punt return. I don't know if any league that you're in or any league that you potentially could be in has like a higher point total for that.
I've been starting to look at some YouTube videos about the new rules because, quite honest, I'm still a little
wrapping your head around it.
Dumb when it comes to the whole thing. Yeah, but yes, I do know that like the real sharps in the fantasy football world are starting to look at who will get those yards if they're going to start counting. I saw we scroll down just a little bit more. Tajay Spears is another name that I like for the Titans.
I had him in a redraft league last year. He's pretty solid. He's a good receiving back out of the backfield.
And I think they're going to throw him the ball. To me, as much as he may be RB2 there, he's also like wide receiver 4 there, I think.
Yeah, he's like 1A, 1B and over there in Tennessee.
And with who is it, Callahan that is there now?
They're on the clock, by the way.
They're going to sling the rock a lot.
Anybody you're interested in? Jonathan Brooks, DeAndre Swift are on the board. Josh Palmer, Tony Pollard, Daniels, Brian Robinson. We also have our stacks on the right that you like. 15 seconds.
Whatever you like.
I'm kind of tempted to get DeAndre Swift because I feel like we don't really have any. Let's do it. I think it's getting a little running back action there because I think they'll get down there.
Yeah, if we 2 picks away. So what do you like next here?
I don't know. Do you want to jump on these quarterbacks? Or don't worry about them. What are you thinking about that? That's my thought process. I don't love these. There's Tony Pollard. There's Brian Robinson being potentially grabbed him.
Are you concerned enough about the stacks to pass on Jaden Daniels, or do you want to stick to like Tua?
I'm thinking about Tua because we already have Raheem and we have Tyreek Hill. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It might be a reach, but just do it. Just a lot.
It's a reach by. I mean, we're at 90.
A round or two. Yeah,
we're at 90, and he was at like 125. So
yeah. It's all good.
I don't know. You've picked him around early, but you make sure that you have him. Sometimes it's more important to get a guy like it, particularly if you have like a plan.
Yeah.
For me, it's better to overspend a little bit.
That's exactly right.
to
Yeah,
continue
but
on that plan than say, hey,
exactly.
I'm going to stick to ADP and I'm not going to move off of it. Now, some guys do that, and that's fine. There's that different strategies, for everybody.
And for me now, maybe I'm just an over anxious person. Now my anxieties are gone. Like we have that stack. We have Tua, Mostert, Hill. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. We also have Lamar and Mark Andrews, another stack. So those are two good ones right there. Now I can look at the rest of the draft as taking BPA and have no problems whatsoever. And honestly, Doug, we better doing pretty well. We have 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and a tight end. Like we don't have to reach for anything. We just take the best player available now. We have a good little breakdown.
I really like how the draft's going,
Yeah, I think
quite
so too.
frankly. And George, if we miss a pick, it's our fault.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to blame it on anyone else. We're good.
Yes. The only bad thing about the guest pickers is if they're not used to doing best. You can tell the guys that were used to doing best ball, right? Like
Who was that one guy that was
when
crushing? He
Ian
was better
Hartitz
than
was
us.
on, he was like
Who was it?
when Ian Hartitz was on with us,
Yeah, he was awesome. He was top
he
mid
was
sentence.
ready to go. He was like, well, we could. Some of the guests we have to say, hey, we're up now, or hey, we're up in 3 picks. Ian was like, hey, we're up in 10 picks. Let's start sorting through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's just me just watching the Big Ten football. I think Blake Corum, man, is a deep sleeper. I think he's a coach's dream. He's a workhorse running back. He scored 27 touchdowns last year, and he's going to a Sean McVay offense. People are overlooking him. I think they love Kyron Williams, which makes perfect sense. I mean, Kyron Williams had a great year last year. If Kyron Williams goes down, or if McVay decides to do a little a 1-2 option there, I think Corum's gonna have a great year. So I don't mind taking him a little bit later on too. I have him in Scott Fishbowl's league as well.
I like him, and I do think that they plan on running the ball more out in LA this year. I'm with you. And frankly, we've had a bunch of people on, it feels like, George, that have said, listen, what is it that Kyron Williams really does better?
Yeah.
He's not really more athletic. He's not faster. He can catch the ball better. Like, not exactly sure what it is that he does better than, say, Blake Corum. So I like him.
I think there's going to be a quarterback run, by the way. I think this is what we're in the same league together. And you kind of busted my chops in the Scott Fishbowl. You're the number 2 pick. You're lucky that your team is shape up the way it did. And I agree. I honestly agree, because I think when you're at the turn, you set the tone. So I think right here, we drop it to a little bit early. Prescott and Daniels are gone. So 2 more quarterbacks were taking that round. I'm looking at this guy. These next 2 people don't have quarterbacks, right? So they're going to actually –
That's right.
I think they're going to start taking them. I think they're going to start coming off the board. So
there's
goes Caleb Williams.
There's 3 out of the next 4 that don't have quarterbacks.
Yeah, Caleb's going to take one, and D-Boy's going to take – I think we're lucky we got 2, because I don't think he would have came back to us.
Yeah, there was a point in time, George, when I was like, yeah, I don't mind the 10 spot, and I hit around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'd like to have the best players first, please.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah, you want the high-end guys. You can always – because it's there's top end guys, elite players, but then there's also deep, dart throws. You can get those deep dart throws at 10 or 2. You know what I'm saying? But the high end guys, you get them really early. So I don't know. So
we're 1 pick away here.
Yeah. I have Baker Mayfield and Gus Edwards in the queue. Purdy, we don't even need more quarterbacks. A.D. Mitchell could potentially be a wide receiver 1. I don't know if you like that at all. Nick Chubb, I heard some negative news about him today. Jerome Ford's around. We're back up on the clock. There really isn't anything here. We're kind of going for upside here, right?
Yeah, whatever you like. I'd go back up to the top. Maybe it's I like A.D. Mitchell here.
You like A.D. Mitchell? Okay, I was going to maybe say Gus Edwards. Maybe we can get them both. Why not? Maybe we can get these guys and maybe get Baker next round. A.D. Mitchell. I don't know if I guess the next question would be: would you want Gus Edwards or would you want Baker Mayfield potentially? We're back up on again.
I how far down it was Austin Eckler? I like
Austin. Eckler's actually he won't be around my next pick. He'll be.
I like Austin Eckler here.
All right.
I like Austin Eckler as a dart thrower. The one thing that he did out in LA was gobble up red zone targets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that dude was a touchdown machine for a while, and I don't see why they wouldn't be that way. And that pretty much gets at we don't even have to worry about running back again for a while if we don't want to.
Yeah, Mostert, Swift, and Eckler are a pretty good combo right there.
What do the tight ends look like now, George?
Goddard, Schultz are interesting. People like Cole Kmet. We could also get Hawkinson and kind of wait till he comes back around for the second half of the year.
Yeah. What did you
Musgrave.
say you heard bad news about my guy Chubb today?
Yeah, I saw something going around where he's like not going to start the season. Like they're like, I mean, which is understandable, but I think
Yeah, okay.
he was like he's going to be, he's going to be maybe even on pup. He was like they don't expect him to be around for the start of the season.
I expected that, so that makes me a little less nervous. I was worried that maybe there had been a setback. If you're drafting Nick Chubb, it's
You're
a
long
win a
term.
league at the end. Yeah, I mean you're hoping he's back at the end and puts up numbers, but
I got Mike Williams late in Scott Fishbowl's league, and that's kind of like, might not be the Mike Williams is the ultimate dart thrower because he's this physical specimen and he didn't thrive with Herbert. I can see as a dart thrower, we don't have to get him now, him benefiting from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers freaking puts the ball in like crazy places, and I can see him like Mike Williams being covered and freaking Aaron Rodgers throwing these back shoulder throws him in the end zone and forcing him to catch it, which I can see him having a high spike in touchdowns potentially because I saw some good film about Aaron Rodgers playing pretty well in training camp so far.
I mean, if it surprises you, then you haven't been paying attention. Like Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he was hurt last year, but that dude's been good for a long time. But there's no reason in my mind that he's going to regress any. And put it like this: if Mike Williams can't get it done with Aaron Rodgers, then he's just not going to get it done.
He's not going to get it done.
I like Ray Davis. Late word out of Buffalo is they have a role carved out for him.
We actually do having Lamar and Tua, like we could get Mayfield for the potential stack, but like that's freaking pretty. Those are pretty high end quarterbacks right there. I think we're pretty solid in regard to that, honestly. So
I do too. And then again, we can wait late on just if we wanted a third, you can wait late for Aaron Rodgers,
Stafford,
Kirk Cousins,
Stafford.
Yeah, I think Stafford's in for it. I mean, he wasn't right last year.
Yeah.
I think he's in for a bounce back. I like Will Levis late. I really think they put a lot of weapons around him. They're going to sling the ball there. He can move a little bit.
There's J.K. Dobbins, there's Jalen Wright. There's some good options out here. Wide receiver. Look at wide receiver. Dotson, Leggett, potentially a wide receiver one. That's what I'm looking for now. I guess I don't know what your thoughts are, Doug. Maybe people that could at this. We both are friends with Nate Coleman, who I think has a great mind in regard to fantasy. He said once you start getting to the end of the draft, you start looking at the highest of ceilings, right? You're not shooting for the floor anymore. You're trying to go for who can hit it the best. I think Darnell Mooney is a potentially good option too. I think people are automatically thinking Drake London and automatically thinking Bijan Robinson and Pitts. I think Mooney is a pretty solid deep wide receiver late, like under the slot for Kirk Cousins. Like, Kirk Cousins brought up Jordan Addison as well. So I find it pretty interesting there.
Yeah, okay.
What else do we got? Marshawn Lloyd still around. People like him.
Yep, I do too.
So we have 2 picks. I'll let you pick this one, Doug, whatever you want.
I think I like – how many tight ends do we have now, George?
We have just Mark Andrews.
I think I like Luke Musgrave here.
Okay. And what's your thought behind that?
I think that he's going to – he got a lot of targets last year, and I just think they're going to target him more as they transition to more of a – I think they're going to do more of passing this year. The more comfortable that you saw the quarterback get towards the end of last year, if that's what they're saying we're going to get from the very beginning now, I like that.
All right, back up again.
Whatever you like here.
All right, let me take a look. We have Stafford, Kirk Cousins. Is Baker still around? Let's talk on Baker. Or actually Cousins. Baker or Cousins, or Stafford?
Let's do Baker.
All right, let's do it.
And then we're done with quarterbacks.
We're done with quarterbacks. Yeah, I didn't really want to do that. I was kind of caught up on the clock, but I don't know. I guess I wanted maybe Mooney there. What I would have done because everything else is kind of like you're truly just throwing darts now.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, I mean, the way we had it set up, we allowed ourselves to just go BPA.
Yeah.
He was the best player on the board. He allows us to put together another pairing. So I mean, I dig it. I like the way this team is coming together, to be quite honest with you.
I do. Me too. I think we have explosive quarterbacks, and maybe this is a broad generalization, but I feel like if you have like a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts, I've won my fantasy league 2 out of the last 3 years. Like I'm in my redraft league. In the years that I've won, I had Josh Allen 1 year and I had Lamar Jackson in another. I feel like people kind of say the quarterbacks are deep. That's true. But if you have a quarterback averaging 25, 30 points a game and you play like 100 or 110, it's a pretty good advantage to have, in my opinion. That's like, I like having them.
Yep, there's no doubt. And of course, that's why people are so high right now on Jaden Daniels in fantasy, because you're getting those extra running yards.
Yeah, so now we're looking at complete dart throws. Kamani Vidal, people are talking about him recently. I don't know if you've been catching that, Doug, but like they're saying that like Edwards is kind of a prodder. They're saying Dobbins is injury prone. Vidal is the one pass catching, elusive back in the Chargers backfield that could potentially be very strong. This got taken off the board. I've been hearing good things about Mooney. People say Jalen Wright. Well, Jalen Wright is a home run threat, and the Miami Dolphins are all about speed. But the problem is they already have 2 other running backs, so it's something there. What else we see?
I like the idea of Jalen Wright.
Okay.
Because if one of those running backs go down, you know that they like using 2 backs.
2.
That's right. Yep.
I agree. Let's do it. I like High Corby. I'm trying to look around.
How many running backs do we have now?
We have 3. We have Mostert, Swift, and Eckler.
Hit Jalen McMillan there.
Yeah, people like him too.
Yep.
That's our Tampa.
Will you scroll back up a little bit? There was go down just a little bit. There was a keep scrolling down just a little bit. Keep going.
Troy Franklin.
I like Troy Franklin. Bucky Irving is there. Also from Tampa. I think he's going to end up catching a lot of passes. You could tag Isaiah Likely.
You like Likely. That's your guy.
I would guess, just knowing the offensive coordinator there from his Georgia days, I can see them wanting to run a lot of 2 tight end sets with Andrews and Likely. I know we already have Andrews, but whether they are using both or whether Andrews goes down, I know that they're going to want to have the tight ends involved there in Baltimore.
I think we have how many more picks do we have? 4 more picks, I think. How many rounds? I think there's 18 altogether. Yeah.
18, yeah.
So we have 4 more picks.
Are you buying that Justin Fields is going to be a part of the return game in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think they'll use him sporadically. I think Justin Fields, there's talent there, but I think with the whole I think the mental isn't there, and I think he kind of is off the rails a little bit right now in regard to him being focused. So I think they're going to try I think they're going to give Russell Wilson the benefit of the doubt. They're going to kind of build upon Justin Fields and work on him as a project. I think they'll incorporate him as a returner sometimes. I don't think it's going to be it might be once a game type of thing, or I don't think it's going to be an every play kind of thing. I think it's more going to be hey, we need to play here. Let's put him back there. So I don't think it's going to be an every play kind of thing. So I think they're invested in him as a potential backup or long-term replacement to Russell Wilson, if that makes any sense.
Yep. They've been trying to make Rashad Bateman a thing for
they've been trying so
4
hard.
years now.
I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you're trying to. I don't know if you want to do that either. People have been hyping him up. I got burned
hyping him up for 4 years, George. I swear.
Jalen Wright's top of the board. I don't know if you want to take him.
Let's take him. I think let's do it.
Yeah. Rashad Bateman, like, it's so funny because I've been so adamant on like the Twitter feed, like, dude, I would absolutely not take Rashad Bateman. If you want to take him for fun, we can, because we do have the Lamar stack. But like, that man drives me crazy. He hasn't done anything or hasn't shown anything in a while. We're back up again. He's number 2 on the board.
Let's go Rashad Bateman.
Let's do it. I'll buy you a beer, Doug, if he actually, blows up a little bit. That'd be hilarious.
I'll take that beer if you blows up. Let's see. Let's see. What are we looking at here? We got 6 receivers, 4 running backs, 3 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and what do we have? 2 picks left.
Yeah. So we're in a good spot, honestly.
I like it. What are the rest of the tight ends that are left?
Sinnett's still available. We can potentially put him. Our boy Chigakonkwo, we always get him.
We've got a bunch of him, that's for sure.
Jaceki on the Cincinnati. Dawson Knox in Buffalo. Jatavian Sanders. I got him in a couple leagues. Yeah, I'll start him just in case. I think he could potentially do something. Wide receivers, we have a pretty good wide receiver core right now.
Yeah, I think we're good on that. I guess it's either running back or tight end. What do our running backs look like again?
Running backs, we have Mostert, Swift, Eckler, and Wright.
We're pretty much good at all of them, right? Like I guess to your point, we're just looking for best value now.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of out on Antonio Gibson.
Is that because he's beating you down here in Washington?
Yeah, over and over. And I think Ramondre Stevenson's kind of a he takes a lot of he gobbles up a lot of touches as well.
He's certainly well in the red zone, I bet.
Edwards-Helaire is kind of a headache too. I've had him before, but I'm curious about this. Like Edwards-Helaire, people would get him first, second, third, fourth round because they want to be attached to that Kansas City offense. But getting him in round 16, is that value? Because let's say Pacheco goes down, now you have a starting running back for Kansas City. Is that something that you would want to throw as a dart in the 16th round, or actually in our case, the 17th round? So
I'd be okay with it just because I think it sounds like Kansas City is going to be another one of those teams that is going to lean on the running game a little bit more than they maybe have in the past. It's interesting as we see the league evolving to this like high octane passing league. You know how this works, George. There will always be an overcorrection at some point, and teams will start getting back to, okay, if you're going to put nickel and dimes out there, then we're going to put the running back out there and smash you. And I wonder how many teams are going to start pivoting back to more of a balanced, maybe even run heavy offense that gets you back to that play action game that really opens up the field, instead of what I think we've seen the last couple of years where it's like, let's put guys in the slot and get mismatches over the middle of the field and exploit that way. And our run game comes more from screens and short passes to get us to the downfield throws. I think teams like the Rams, I think teams like the Chiefs, who maybe have relied on being more pass heavy, are going to get back to running the ball more heavily.
Yeah, I think the league is definitely an ebb and flow kind of league. And I think everybody's always trying to win at the edges, right? Everyone's trying to win at a different angle. And I think like the league went to a very pass heavy league where it's just wide open and you can kind of like, it's almost like a 7-on-7 league. But then now the Lions are coming back with more of a power running game with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs even. And then, the 49ers are a pretty heavy running team as well. It's like a lot of the teams that are actually getting far into the playoffs are one of the ones that are multiple, but it can also rely on the run game pretty heavily too. So I do think there's a good back and forth there. So we're going to be up in a moment. I don't know if you want to get Likely and wait on Edwards-Helaire. I don't know if you want to get Sinnott potentially. We're back on the clock right now. Whatever you want to do.
Let's do Edwards-Helaire here.
Okay.
I know it's above ADP or whatever, but I mean, as we went through the strategy of late in rounds here, trying to find ways to get starters,
we're back up again.
I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, the potential win, the potential high end idea is the
it's a Commanders podcast, George. Let's take one Sinnott here.
Let's do it, Matt. We don't really draft a lot of Commanders, which is kind of sad. I wish we did more, but yeah, why not get Sinnott? Why not there? I like that. You never know. If he blows up, then that's going to be a double win for us. I like that.
I can see a world where halfway through the season, he's getting a lot of red zone targets.
I can see that. That would be fantastic. Like, I think, going back now, we have some time until our next pick. Talking about the Commanders, that's going to be, I think that's the most intriguing part for us, right? Like, what is our team eventually going to be? And that's what I'm most excited about. I feel like our current team is solid. Like, we have like solid players like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and Terry McLaurin. Like, we kind of know what they're going to do. But I think the rookie class, if any one of them walks on to week one and immediately starts making an impact, that's going to be a lot of fun. And I think right now we don't know where it's going to come from. It could be Jaden Daniels, it could be Sinnen, it could be Mike Sanders, still, it could be Johnny Newton, it could be any of these guys. And that's the fun part about this year. Luke McCaffrey even too.
I agree, and that tight end room is going to be interesting. I like the idea that you can get Sinnett maybe into like that fullback H-back role because we know they've got Ertz, and if he stays healthy, it looks like in camp he's still got a little bit left in the tank there. And then John Bates is really your only inline tight end on the roster. So if they want to run some of that two tight end set, then I wonder if the way they get Sinnett on the field this year is in that fullback role, and think of some of the action that the fullback gets out there in San Francisco, because Anthony Lynn is the run game coordinator now. So I could kind of see him looking at Sinnett and seeing a little use check there, and maybe that's how they get him onto the field sooner than later because of some of the guys that may be ahead of him on the tight end depth chart.
What are your thoughts? I'm just looking around on the board. We got Luke Musgrave, but I think in Green Bay, there's like a push and pull factor with Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft because they're both selected, I think, in the second and third round last year. Right. So I don't know if you want to potentially, that could be the upside play. Because I'm looking around, I don't really see that many. Like I got Jatavian Sanders could be some person that could potentially blow up. It's funny, Luke McCaffrey is the highest person on the board right now. I'll star him. Yeah. I'm trying. There he goes. I'm just trying to think of people that are going to be like that could potentially pop for us. JJ McCarthy, but I think we're pretty strong with the quarterbacks now.
Yeah.
Dawson Knox. If Kincaid goes down, maybe Knox goes back to his regular form.
I saw that Deontay Foreman is there. The running back room in Cleveland could be interesting to see who actually shakes out there.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt, even though they don't have a. So it's funny, yeah. So Jalen Hyatt is a pretty good wide receiver, but Daniel Jones is going to bring the whole team down. Rondell Moore, people are. See, it's funny. I'm really intrigued. We haven't talked about this online. We've been talking about the Texans and the Bears and the Eagles. We haven't really talked about Atlanta's skill players. I'm kind of curious about them.
I am too.
Like Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. It's really interesting. Darnell Mooney's wide receiver too. People are saying Rondell Moore is going to be pretty intriguing. They're going to kind of use him as a Curtis Samuel role over in Atlanta, kind of like in the backfield, swing passes, stuff like that. So I can see that being potentially interesting too. So I'll put him in our queue just in case. So I don't know.
I agree with you, George. I think the Atlanta stack, if you will, is one of the more underrated ones. Like they're bringing a brand new offense there. Say what you want to about Kirk Cousins, but he's going to get people the ball. Like they're going to put up numbers. I mean, that's what Kirk does, right? I mean,
yep, exactly right.
All the complaints about Kirk, it's not the numbers.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So we're up in about 20 seconds. Is there any way you're kind of leaning? So we have some tight ends we could look at, or we have some wide receiver dart throws. We have two backup running backs. We have Keaton Mitchell or Deontay Foreman.
I think I like Hyatt or Moore here.
Okay. Want to jump on Moore? See what Atlanta does with Kirk Cousins? Give that a shot. Yeah, why not? Have some fun with that. It's funny. They actually have some pretty cool like little tickers. It says, bumps on the depth chart over in Jalen Hyatt, and then like Deontay Foreman. Let's take a look. Just sign with the Browns. Dude, Underdog's awesome. It's really, really good. Oh, there's our draft.
They do a nice job. I like this one, George.
Yeah, let's take a look and let's kind of refresh this. Let's take a look at our board, see if there's anywhere we could have gone differently. I love this too. I don't know if you've seen this yet. We haven't really talked about it too much. you can
how
see
much
the exposure that we've had on our
right.
teams, which is pretty cool. So we have a lot of exposure with DeAndre Swift, Terry McLaurin, apparently, Tua, Ben Sinnott, Bijan, Mike Evans. We've seen it get a lot, which is interesting. Let's go back. Let's go back to the actual board, though. We can talk about this offline. That's pretty cool to see
Yeah,
over there.
it is.
Let's go over here. Completed. Yeah, that's our second big one. Because the last we have 3 BestBall Manias actually.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying to think.
we did one with Ian for sure.
Right.
And then we did one a week later. I think let me take a look. This one over here. This one I believe was with Derek Clausen, I believe.
Okay.
This one right here. That one's that one. I want to rename them. This one was I believe Ian Harris, because that's the only one. That's the first time we ever did BestBall Mania was with
Roll
him.
back to the top. I'm curious. It says how many projected. So I'm curious which ones is projected to be the highest. So right about 3. They're all pretty much right there in the same.
Mm-hmm. So this is ours. This is
the one we did is the lowest amount of projected points.
Yeah, Doug and Carmi. Let's see what we got over here. So let's take a look. Tyreek, I'm happy with that pick. Devontae Smith. Let's see who went after him. Brennan Ayuk. Malik Neighbors, Mike Evans. Oh, we got Mike Evans. Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry, Metcalf Moore, Diggs. I'm happy with that. Devontae Smith. Yeah, maybe Tank Dell would be one, or Stephon Diggs, but I think Devontae Smith is interesting. Devontae Smith is I had him last year in one of my leagues. He's feast or famine. Like he'll have like 3 catches and like 20 yards one game, then he'll have like 7 catches, 140 yards in another game. He pops up and down, but that's what best ball is all about. It's actually kind of good to have that. So
that's right. I'm
cool with that. I like getting Lamar. I'll always get Lamar Jackson. He's awesome to have in fantasy. And he's always on TV. Like I feel like you want to win, but at the same time you also want to have fun and pick players that you enjoy watching. And me being in the Maryland area, he's always on TV. He's always in the national games. It's kind of fun to watch him live as well. So I'll take him over Amari Cooper or Josh Jacobs and Hollywood Brown. I guess the one thing we could have potentially, but I guess we didn't have a chance. We're looking at that Kansas City stack of Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, but we missed out on.
We had missed the tight end. He won a couple of picks before, right?
Yeah,
which is when we pivoted to Lamar.
Yeah, exactly. Going down further, I don't know. How do you feel about getting Mostert in front of K9 or David Montgomery or Aaron Jones or Ramondre Stevenson? Is that like?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I don't like Kenneth Walker. I might be in the minority there, and maybe it's just a personal preference thing. And maybe he blows up this year with the new offense, but he hadn't done it for me in the past. David Montgomery for me, I guess those guys that are in those 2-back systems, like Jahmyr Gibbs to me is going to get more work this year than he got last year.
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't bode well for David Montgomery. I know that when we had, maybe it was Moody on last week, that he was high on Montgomery. I get that. I like Aaron Jones a little bit. Like, I think people think he's washed, and I don't think so. I think still got juice left. I've never been a huge Ramondre Stevenson fan.
Me neither.
But maybe, again, that's just me. I don't know.
I think of that row, I think Raheem Mostert has the biggest ability to pop, like in my opinion. Like I think Aaron Jones could potentially pop. I think he's kind of like Aaron Jones is like, I think he's on the twilight of his career. Like I don't think he's washed, but I don't think he's not in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers anymore. Now he has Sam Darnold potentially or JJ McCarthy. He'll have a solid year, but he's not going to be the Aaron Jones. I think David Montgomery. I think he's going to get some red zone touches. Like I remember like watching David Montgomery early in the Lions. Like, I remember watching week 1 and 2, and I was like, damn, people were talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, but Montgomery's the closer. And that's why that's how the season started. Maybe it didn't end that way. I think the Lions like him in that power role by the goal. Like I think Montgomery's going to catch the ball a lot more. But I think Montgomery's going to be the closer. I think Mostert can do both. I think he can catch and close. So that's why it's pretty interesting. I think he has some potential there.
The Lions will be interesting because if Jameson Williams is taking kind of the jump that they say he has, like the offense could be totally different this year.
Yeah.
And it could be, they could be looking for more big explosive plays. So I'll be interested to see what that kind of looks like. That's just me with Montgomery. I get what you're saying though, as far as being the sledgehammer and kind of
Mhm.
gobbling up red zone. Um, I like DeAndre Swift there.
Yeah, I like Tua there too. I know that's kind of a reach, but like I think we got ahead of the trend. I think we got Tua here, and then there goes Dak, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, like Trevor Lawrence. We wouldn't have got him. Like that's why I like being on that turn. You can kind of jump ahead. Like it's a reach, potential, quote unquote a reach, but having Tua and Tyreek, like those are games where the Dolphins blow up and have like 40 points. Like we're gonna have that on our team. Having Tua and Tyreek together is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I think that's right. And look at if when you start looking at the people that got picked after, like, do you are you so sad that you missed any of those guys that you don't have
No,
the team as part of
no,
the
like
staff? I mean,
no,
we
not at all.
drafted Tyreek with our first overall pick, second overall, like to not be able to get that stack that we kind of had in our minds from the very first pick we made, so that you're staying on ADP. Like to me,
Yeah.
that
Who are you trying
doesn't
to
really.
impress? Yeah.
That's right.
The only people that are intriguing in the rest of the round, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson. I think I actually am a big Brian Robinson proponent. I like him a lot, but I don't think he's going to be. Brian Robinson he's going to be good for the Washington Commanders. He's going to be a good real time player. I can see Brian Robinson like
That's right.
800, 900 yards total, rushing like 7 or 8 touchdowns. I think it's going to be solid, but it's not going to be freaking 30-point explosion like Tua is going to be. I don't think it's going to be like that. Chase
I
Brown's interesting. I think he's going to be pretty. I think I'm hearing him getting more reps in Cincinnati, so that's going to be an interesting pick. So, but I wouldn't take him over Tua. I guess the only question is Dak and Jaden Daniels. Those are good quarterbacks that could potentially be as good or better than Tua. But if we're going for stacks, which I think you need to do to win, I think Tua is a better pick there.
Well, and also, like, it's important to get those quarterbacks, but
Mm-hmm.
on a weekly basis on BestBall Mania, which like doesn't have the super flex, like only one quarterback's going to count. How many weeks is Jaden Daniels or Dak Prescott going to beat out Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, exactly right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's like
yeah.
you're drafting those guys and you're expecting them to score high points, but they don't score more than Lamar Jackson. Then
It doesn't mean anything. Sitting on the bench.
that's right.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
like the way this thing stacked up.
I do. I think it's intriguing. It's gonna be. What's gonna be funny is because the Best Ball Mania, you're basically competing. We have 3 teams out, so we're gonna compete against ourselves a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. Is
Which
it
of
gonna
those
be
teams?
Ian Hart's team? Is it gonna be Derek Clawson or is it gonna be Doug and Carmi's team? So we'll see how that shakes out. That'll be
There
fun.
will be. All right, George. Let's see. We're back next week. I think on Fridays we're going to start switching to more Commanders focused as the league gets here. So I'm excited, man. Training camp's back. So yeah, I guess we'll.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. We have for those that listening, we have some things in the books where we got our eyes on the Commanders training camp. I'll be there on Thursday. I have a pretty cool coaching session to do Wednesday night. If our schedules align up, we might have a Thursday night show to kind of talk about the Commanders. We'll see how that goes. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and we'll be back on Wednesday. We should be back on Wednesday. It might be a schedule thing. If there is, we'll put it out and let people know. And then I'll be on Friday. You'll be gone, and then we'll be back doing our regular thing all next week.
Yeah, and Doug, who do we got on Friday?
To be determined. Still.
All right, sounds good. Surprise. It's gonna be a surprise. Yeah, perfect. It'll be awesome. Cool. All right, guys.
All right, buddy. Yep.
All right, see you.